If your spouse stroked out tomorrow morning, could you tell me where to find your passwords to all of your accounts, the contact to your estate planning attorney, your accountant, your advisor, your insurance agent, where you could locate insurance policies, who's authorized to make decisions about the family business, about affairs, financial accounts? Could you do any of those things? Would you even think to do those things? Most people can't. They get paralyzed in the severity of the situation that just happened. And that kills me because we spend so much time in planning and preparing with our financial advisor and our estate attorney. You sit through the estate planning meetings, you sign the documents, you check all the boxes. But in that moment, none of it matters. Planning for the finish line and ignoring the marathon is the issue. And death isn't the disaster. Death is often the relief at the end of the disaster. The real crisis is in the 3 to 7 years of the decline before it comes. It's the hospitalizations, it's the cognitive issues, it's the family conflict, it's the financial hemorrhaging, it's the lack of control, it's the battling with the emotions of all of this situation, it's the caregiver burnout. It's what nobody actually prepares for. And my goal today is to address and attempt to fix some of that. So welcome to Rogue Wealth. Rogue Wealth rule number 5. Communication is lubrication. It's one of my favorites. It sounds like something you'd have embroidered on a throw pillow or on a wall in a nice powder room. The reality is it's conversations that come up that family members refuse to have. And often those conversations, the really hard ones, are disguising and hiding the actual breakthroughs we need to face. And it's topics that everybody dances around at Thanksgiving. Hey, what happens if mom needs care? Or what happens if dad can't run the business anymore? Who makes the hard decisions? Who makes the financial decisions? And all of these conversations to determine whether your family survives a crisis intact or tears itself apart, and what the financial impact and cost and toll is for everybody involved today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Every family has these delayed conversations, and every delay has a cost. Sometimes it could be a cultural issue, or it could come up with just the feeling of discomfort and not wanting to face it. But we need to face one of the toughest conversations of them all, and that's today's fire drill. And what most people believe about emergencies is that when the time comes, we rise to the occasion. And that sounds good, but it's massively flawed. Here's why. We don't rise to an occasion if we've never planned and prepared and practiced it. We fall to our lowest ability in a disaster or an emergency situation. This is why school children have fire drills. This is why office buildings have disaster preparation scenarios, why businesses have disaster backup recovery plans. This is why our public servants and our first responders and our servicemen and women go through drills and drills and drills, rehearsing and recreating situations that they're not facing in the moment, but that they're prepared to when they arise and they come up. This is why we do all that, because in the middle of smoke and chaos, screaming and madness, your brain doesn't work right. Your brain and your body needs muscle memory, and that planning and preparation is what's already been rehearsed. And this same principle applies to our family, our finances, and our business. Why does this matter now? Sadly, I get reminded of this situation often because of the amount of families we serve and the amount of work we do. This is not a conversation of if, it's a conversation of when. So here's some stats. Almost 56% of people turning 65 will need some level of long-term care services in their lifetime. 70% of people will develop severe care needs before they die. This is not a maybe. These are stats that we're watching unfold, and I'm actually seeing happen more than a coin flip that lands on yes more often than not. The odd thing is so many people, me included, have this lotto ticket idea that when it's our time to go, we go to bed, we don't wake up, and we're at the pearly gates. But the reality and the stats tell us something totally different. We found that the average duration of needing care and assistance at advanced age is at least 3 years. And for women, it's longer, closer to 4. For folks who are battling any sort of cognitive and dementia issues, could be much longer than that. 3 years at a minimum. That's 3 years of care coordination, 3 years of medical decisions, 3 years of financial management, 3 years of family stress, which is corroding relationships and dragging everything down. And while people that need the care are still alive, they may have options, they may have rights, but they may not even recognize what's happening to them. Those estate documents that we sat through and checked boxes on, they're designed and built for the moment of death. They don't really help you navigate the marathon that comes before. And if you're running a family business, multiply that complexity by 10 and throw a wrench into it. The outcomes are wild. So the 3 things you need to know about the fire drill, the planning and preparation that goes into it. Number 1, don't let your children lose both parents. Here's what I mean by this. In many of the families that we work with, one spouse often runs the business and the other spouse handles the domestic engineering affairs, the home, the kids, the logistics of daily life. There's a balance of labor and it works until it doesn't. When disaster strikes, such as a stroke or some sort of healthcare diagnosis, God forbid an accident, without proper preparation, everything falls on the other spouse. The healthy spouse suddenly becomes the business operator, that decision maker, the caregiver, the financial manager, and the medical decision maker, and the parent. What about the kids? They effectively lose both parents, one to the illness, and the other one to the chaos of managing it all. I've seen this play out dozens of times. Mom has a health crisis, and dad is so consumed with the doctors and the insurance and trying to keep the business from collapsing that the kids are on their own. Or dad gets hurt, and mom's suddenly drowning in the responsibilities she's never had to handle before. Bank accounts she doesn't know about how to access, business relationships that she's never even spoken to, legal documents that she can't sort, contracts and promises that were made on a golf course or just randomly with a vendor that have been around for 5, 10, 15 years. The healthy parent should be at home, present, providing stability, care, and being a loving parent as they always have been, and not get thrown into chaos just because of a naive thought that it ain't happening to me. But without preparation, they're running around putting out the fires that could have been prevented with 30 minutes of planning and an open discussion. The fix? Cross-training of lives. Both spouses should be involved and know where everything is. They should be involved in the planning and preparation process. And at least once a year in a team meeting with all the professional advisors, saying, hey, let's run that fire drill really quick. It's going to take a few minutes. Think about the school days ages when we had a fire drill. It was a few minutes of an ordeal. Run through it, document it, update it. Time doesn't stop for us, okay? Relationships change, people come, people go. These estate planning documents and these estate planning decisions, they're not dormant. They also ought to be looked at and updated. Because when that crisis comes, and it will, you want to be a parent first and not an administrator. And you want to operate from clarity and calm decision making rather than chaotically trying to be the fire department with no tools, trying to figure out where to go next. Number 2, the government's default plan sucks. Make your own. Here's what I mean by that. We all have a plan, even if we haven't actually sat down and made a plan. Behind the states and the counties and the governments and all the governing bodies, they all have items to, at a minimum, address different issues that come up. And I'll tell you one thing they all have in common. They're terrible, they're slow, they're expensive, they're time-consuming, they're public, and they take all the control that you have away from you. Without the powers of attorneys and without different appointments, you have to go to courts, you have to petition a judge, you have to ask for access to your finances, you have to access for permission to move things around. We're talking about months and months, thousands of dollars, a public record, and anybody can look this stuff up. And when the family business is involved, That thing's sitting out there naked and everybody knows about it. Competitors use that to their advantage. I have not seen a competitor in a situation show up, knock on the door, and say, hey, charitably, I want to help you. No, it doesn't work that way. It only adds to the destruction. Without healthcare directives and clear wishes, doctors make decisions based on ability, not your values. In our medical system, it's usually quantity over quality, and it's speed with minimal liability to the system. They default to maximum intervention because that's what protects them legally. Hey, let's check all the boxes. They can't come after us if something bad happens. And that's true even if you don't want that to have happened. Without a clear succession plan behind the scenes, while you can't tend to your business and your team and your operators and everybody involved and their families sit in limbo while lawyers and courts try to figure out who's in charge. You need to define your plan for three things. One, money. Who has access to accounts? Who makes financial decisions? Who has the authority to pay bills, manage investments, sell assets, renew contracts? Who takes over the obligations and the responsibilities of that business? Time. How long can the business operate without you? Do you really have a business, or is it a big job? Can you be gone for a week or two or three at a time and have that thing operate and function on its own? Who's got to step in? What's the succession hierarchy? And what decisions can they make without approval? How does your family get made whole while this whole thing's unfolding? And that leads us into business operations. Who are the key relationships? What are the passwords to systems? What do the vendor contracts look like? Who are the vendor contacts? Are there any critical deadlines? And where is this all documented? This is more than just an operating manual that's sitting collecting dust somewhere. It's a living, breathing process that ought to be practiced and prepared as the business grows and time unfolds with the family. And we're not talking about being morbid or dark. That's not the point. And I think that maybe sometimes that's why it's being avoided in conversation. But reality is you have to be objective and accept the fact that these are situations of when, not if. And clear communication of what needs to happen, how it happens, and why you made these choices comes up. You just make it part of your cadence of process. It's the why that matters more than you think. Because when family members understand why you made a decision, they're far less likely to fight about it later. Number 3, it's not as obvious as you think, but the marathon nobody trains for is the estate planning process. And people often picture a funeral and an end-of-life celebration of some sort, maybe reading a will or a eulogy, tears, maybe inheritance checks, and some time for cocktails. But that's really the easy part. The hard part? It's everything that comes beforehand. And it's often the things that your estate team or your attorney may never mention. Those stats we mentioned earlier, and some other things here to keep you up at night. 63 million Americans today are caregivers right now. And that's a significant increase from only 10 years ago. Family caregivers spend an average of 24 to 40 hours a week providing care. 40 hours a week? That sounds like that's old school full-time job on top of their existing work or career and their other responsibilities. And this is unpaid, unannounced. It comes out of the blue when it does come. Okay? Here's the kicker. The economic value and cost of unpaid family caregiving is hundreds of billions of dollars a year in this country. It's real labor. More importantly, it's real sacrifice and a real emotional cost and toll. And it's invisible on balance sheets or income statements. That's what we spend so much time talking about too, which is super weird. Nobody actually tells you how illness unfolds. And we kind of break this down into 3 paths or 3 trajectories. Number 1 pattern is cancer. It's relatively stable, then rapid decline comes in final weeks. And more often than not, estate plans are designed for that. You get the diagnosis, you have some time to prepare, and then it's all over relatively quickly. Now, I'm probably speaking a little extreme. Medical technology and science has come a very long way, but the experience of kind of that path of what it looks like, that's path 1. Path number 2, organ failure, heart disease, lung disease, kidney failure, those types of things. Those are roller coasters. You get a crisis, partial recovery. Another systems breakdown, another crisis, another partial recovery. Hospitalization, home, hospitalization, rehab facility. This pattern could last several years. And when I say several, think about 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Every crisis feels like this is the end, but it isn't. Your family gets emotionally exhausted and financially responding to every emergency, starting over, working with the administrative bureaucracy that's the medical system that we live in. And no one really knows when this one's really it. Pattern 3 is dementia and frailty. This is a slow fade. It's a progressing decline over many years. The person's there physically, but as they say, the motor's running, nobody's behind the wheel. And what this requires is an increasing level of care that they're not physically dying. They're just not there to make any decisions, and there's not really triggers or crises to respond for. And this can last for a decade or longer. Your estate planning documents don't distinguish between these 3 different patterns. Your power of attorney doesn't care if the incapacity lasts 6 weeks or 6 years. Your family absolutely does. And your family bears the burden and those costs. And your bank account and your business does as well. Here's another thing that nobody mentions. That disaster may not be in your immediate family. It could be your mother-in-law, could be your brother, could be your cousin who has no one else, could be any of these people. Failed long-term care planning and preparation for elder parents has sunk more families than I can count. The adult children spend down their own retirement savings. They sacrifice their careers. They probably have some marriage stress. They ruin their health along the way. I mean, the burden of caregiving is massive. And nobody has this conversation. Or they just avoid it. They don't want to make that plan. They don't want to run the fire drill. I want to tell you about a client. He's a business owner, known that family for many years, successful, smart, had all the documents in place. And when I originally asked about the whole emergency planning process, he was pretty clear and short and said, yep, it's all good, it's taken care of, referring to his parents and actually his in-laws as well. And every year we'd go around and touch that topic. Everything's good. Nothing needs to be done. It's all good. It's all good. Kris, it's all good. I got a text one morning. Dude, we need to talk. It's like a Wednesday. And I pick up the phone, call him, and he says, my mom just attempted suicide. I then broke down into tears. No one saw it coming. Nobody was prepared for what came next. He went from, yeah, it's all taken care of, to a blabbering mess. Okay? And this story reminds me of this whole episode. This is the fuel of this whole episode. They were dealing with, my client was dealing with a trifecta of storms that came one after the next after the next. The backstory of the attempt by his mother was her awareness and realization at their advanced age that her husband, the dad, was in decline. Okay? Really quickly deteriorating. They were doing a good job in kind of hiding it, right? Not recognizing it, not calling it out, shorter visits, shorter stops, but she was seeing it. And somewhere there, that stress and that burden became so big, and this strong, powerful woman realized she can't help anymore. She won't be able to see it through. And so she made this attempt out of a dark place in her mind. My client had no clue what was happening. He thought everything was good. There was a trust in place and a will. It's all good. It's all good. It's all taken care of. My client went from running a successful business, having a nice quiet life, so his spouse was a successful executive. He all of a sudden is providing care and making decisions for his mother and his quickly deteriorating father, who didn't even know where he was. Okay? And turn after turn after turn, his business needed him while he was dealing with hospitalizations, facility searches, family conflicts on what to do next, where mom should go, who should make decisions for her, what are the legal questions about competency. Oh, and this one thing that we all learned, if such a situation is on somebody's medical record, facilities don't want you. It sounds crazy, but they just don't want to deal with that level of stress and strain and complexity. It's almost not compassionate to think that, but this is a cold reality that happens with the lack of preparation and planning, and even just simple communication. And so my client's plans and his parents' plans were turned upside down. His business needed him, his wife needed him, his family needed him, his mother, his father, everybody needed him. He was getting pulled in every direction, and nothing but a will and a healthcare directive were designated for a completely different scenario. That convenient one that sadly is considered a lotto ticket. Add to the storm, I said it was a trifecta. His wife's mom, the in-law, also had gone into a medical need that required rehab facilities and moving and selling houses and moving things around. And it was just one big 3.5, almost 4-year train of mess after mess after mess. I haven't seen a person age as much as I have that client and what he's gone through. But here's a couple of things that saved them. One, the skill of negotiation. There was enough clarity and enough problem solving resolved there to find the right people, and that compassionate people and compassionate professionals who understood both the medical and emotional complexity of what was going on. And it wasn't just facility stuff, and it wasn't just any doctor. It was the right ones. And it was extremely time consuming. But the silver lining was that mom was able to get treated like a person and a human being, and not like just another problem to get managed, which is what we probably often feel in the medical system. And the other thing that helped was we were able to get our client to look beyond the immediacy of this crisis. The saving grace was that we were able to stop and slow down. That text and my ability to get on the phone and walk through it as best as we could to be as calm as we can in that situation, regroup as a family and ask, okay, what are our goals now that we know the facts? We can't be angry about the fact that, yeah, well, it's all good. There's nothing out of that. Now we need to figure out what we're going to do today, the next week, the next year, call family meetings, assign roles, reconsider our relationship with the business, and reconsider the way we're going to be using our assets and our time, and create a sustainable plan to be able to respond to this unfolding emergency rather than react in a crazy, chaotic mess. Here's the part that still gets me. My client's mom, once she was stable and through this entire storm that they went through, and she was able to get the proper care and attention, she was being recognized, and not just as a patient, but as a person. She told her son, my client, that she was grateful for the intervention. She was grateful that everybody took over when she couldn't. And she was grateful that they had put a plan in place on something that she just simply deferred on. She was sadly the naive one that got caught up in the storm. She was one of the statistics. But she was grateful that she was able to live out her remaining days in calm and peace and care with her spouse, who was also getting care that he needed. And it was thank yous for not giving up. Because that family could have been torn apart. And more often than not, that's what we see. We hear about what I call the financial autopsies. But in this case, it wasn't that. And I think that experience for me was birthing this story in this episode, and the message of document, prepare, plan, and have the fire drill. Because there's something's going to happen, and you need to be able to communicate, adapt, be flexible, and put your own needs, or you may have to put aside your own calendar for extended periods of time. So this is more than luck. You need to create your luck and prepare now. So here are some key takeaways, because I know I gave you a lot of stuff. And if you're still with me, 1, be the smoke detector and not the fire department. Prevention and preparation is much easier than intervention. The time to figure out and prepare for things is right now, when everyone's healthy, when emotions are calm, when you can think clearly, not in the emergency room at 2 in the morning. Number 2, you do not have to figure this out alone. There are organizations, facilitators, and professionals who specialize in exactly these conversations. Elder care coordinators, family business consultants, financial planners who actually understand this stuff, estate planning attorneys who've seen it and gone through all of it. The help exists. You just have to ask for it. And you have to embrace the communications lubrication, especially in these really tough moments, in these tough conversations. And number 3, accept the reality that these are conversations of when, not if. More than half of us will need significant extended care at some point in our life. And the vast majority of families will face a caregiving crisis. I see it in my world all the time. The stats do not lie. Embrace that reality now so you can prepare for it. So what can you do right now? This moment, that's very high impact and low friction. 1, make a list of the things you want to have happen in an emergency. Account passwords, important contacts, insurance policies, attorney information, location of documents. Put it all into a secure but accessible place, or assign one of your professional relationships to have this document and information vault. Okay? And make sure everybody in your circle knows who that is and where that is. 2, write down your wishes and instructions that you would want someone to know. What kind of care would you like? What wouldn't you want? Who should make these decisions if you can't? What are your values around quality of life versus quantity of life? This is extremely important. And these conversations are hard, but writing them down first makes it a lot easier to implement and have that conversation. Number 3, schedule those conversations you've been avoiding. Go back to Rogue Wealth rule number 5. Communications lubrication with your spouse, with your parents, with your in-laws, with your siblings. Pick a date, put it on the calendar, grab a bottle of wine, make it happen. Their first conversation's the hardest, but after that it gets easier. And the easier it gets, the more impactful it will have on positive outcomes for the family, for the business, and for all the wealth that has been created over decades and decades of work. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to protect you. That's what a financial bodyguard does, okay? And so if what I've shared with you today resonates and it hits, it's probably time that you start thinking about your own family and your own business and your own parents and having that conversation for the first time. It's a conversation. And so, again, as we've said before, you can be complacent and you just need to hear this. But to hope it all works out or to trust that you'll rise to the occasion if you've never even experienced the occasion, that's foolish. But it's a choice. I respect it. But if not, and this really, really, really is time for you to prepare, this is what you take away today, visit our website, pick a time to have a conversation, let's talk about your current situation, and I can figure out where the gaps are, what that audit assessment looks like, and point you in a direction on what to do next before it becomes a crisis. Rule number 5 is not just advice. It's protection. It's the foundation for preparedness. Communication is lubrication. Are you having and facing the hardest conversations, or are you delaying them, hoping that nothing happens? That's it for today's episode of Rogue Wealth. I am Kris. Live today, own tomorrow, and I'll see you on the next one.